Gravedigger by 100 Little Dreams. Hello. It's such a nice day today. The breeze was gentle and the sun was shining its yellow beams through the treetops of Petalburg Woods. Mom has sent me to pick up a something from the Pokémon Center in Rustboro. Although, since I did not yet own a Pokémon, she let me take Pichu with me and also gave me some Pokeballs to catch my own Pokémon. I am not sure how long we've been walking in the woods, since our encounter with wild Pokémon have been pretty slim. So far, only a few Wurmples and Silcoons appeared, and I was not interested in catching a bug Pokémon. We were nearing the middle of the woods when a Tailo appeared in front of us. Alright, this it. Pichu used Tackle for now. However, after I gave the order, that's when Pichu decided to ignore me yet again. Instead of Tackle, he chose to use Thunderbolt, which knocked out the poor Tailo. Pichu, I sighed. You were supposed to use Tackle so I would be able to capture it. Why are you so difficult sometimes? Pichu just turned his head the other way and twitched his tail, as if he was giving me a sassy comeback. You see, my mom spoils Pichu a lot. He won't even follow orders unless Mom is the one giving them. Finally encountered a cool Pokemon and you fainted. Good job, Pichu. Pichu jumped up and down rather happily. I'm guessing he ignored the sarcasm in my voice. After a while, we finally made it out of Petalburg Woods and was on our way to Rustboro. Finally arriving in Rustboro, the town was as busy as always. Rookie trainers going to the Pokemon school, while the others were waiting in line to challenge the Pokemon leader Roxanne. I made my way to the Pokemon Center and greeted Nurse Joy, telling her my mom sent me to pick up something. Yes, a trainer had dropped off their Pokemon here. They wanted to take it straight to your mother, but they could not make the trip, so they left it here until she came back to pick it up. Nurse Joy handed me a rather dingy Pokeball. Its colors were faded, and there was a weird symbol carved on it. It was a circle with a line through the top part. It reminded me of the power button on my game station when I saw it. I took the Pokeball and started to head back to Odale Town. I doubt that Pichu will give me an opportunity to catch a wild Pokemon, so I decided to put him in his Pokeball and make it back home as soon as I can. Nearing Route 102, I accidentally wandered into the tall grass. I knew I should not be walking in here, but I went ahead anyway. I was about to finally make my way out of the tall grass when a Ralts jumped out in front of me. A Ralts, I said excitedly. I had always wanted one, especially since it was a mix of two of my favorite Pokemon types, Psychic and Fairy. I knew I was just going to head straight home, but I did not want to miss out on the chance of capturing a Ralts. I was going to send out Pichu, but thought about the second Pokeball I had with me. I did not know what Pokemon was in there, and I did not want to send it out, just in case it was badly injured and it might be frightened at the sudden encounter. I decided not to, since the Pokemon in the Pokeball will most likely be in danger if I were to use it, so I prepared my brain to deal with the Pichu's nonsense. Pichu used Tail Whip. Again, I was ignored. Pichu used Thunderbolt again. Kind of let down that Pichu might faint the Ralts also, but my surprise, it took the damage pretty well and was still standing. Luckily, it was also paralyzed by the Thunderbolt, so I threw a Pokeball at it. The Pokeball moved once, then twice, and stopped at the third time. I could not help but squeal in joy. I finally caught my own Pokemon, and it was a Ralts. After that, I rushed home to Odale Town to show my mom my new Pokemon, and also to give her the Pokeball which had the unknown Pokemon in it. Mom, I caught my own Pokemon! I ran into the house, almost knocking the front door down. Welcome home, Ashley, and good job. What Pokemon is it? My mom asked, walking up from her Pokemon nursery in the lower level of the house. It's a Ralts. I haven't named it yet, since I'm not sure if it's a boy or a girl yet. Can't give a Pokemon a name that won't suit it, right? I see. I can always check for you, but for now, what was that item Nurse Joy sent to me? She gave me this. Apparently the trainer could not make the trip to Odale Town, so they left it there. I'm not sure what type of Pokemon it is, though. I handed her the Pokeball and she frowned a bit. This Pokeball is in bad condition. I hope the Pokemon inside is at least healthy. Stepping back, she opened up the Pokeball and a strange shape materialized in the living room. It was a Pokemon I had never seen in this region, but I knew instantly what it was. A Cofagrigus. I immediately stammered backwards after I saw it. Yes, you probably guessed right. I do not like Cofagrigus at all. My pen pal in Unova would tell me about how scary Cofagrigus were. I had even read reports of tourists gone missing in the Relics Cave where Cofagrigus was known to appear. I think it is one of the few Pokemon I'm utterly afraid of. What was worse, the Cofagrigus kept staring at me. I tried not to think about it, but I could tell it was looking dead at me, and I was starting to get nervous. Now, it's alright, my mom said, as she called the Cofagrigus back to its Pokeball. I know you don't like them, but this Cofagrigus will not hurt you. I'll make sure it stays in the nursery at all times, she said rather sweetly, hoping it would calm me down. Okay, anyway, I think I'll go outside and play with my Ralts for a bit. I ran outside and released Ralts into my front yard. It looked up at me and came closer. The Ralts probably knew how scared I was, but after having some alone time with it, I was in a much better mood. As afternoon became evening, Ralts and I headed back inside the house. My mom told me that the Ralts was a female, and I was pretty glad about the fact that I didn't know many cool names for male Pokemon, so I named her Jinxie, just because it was cute. Mom also told me that Jinxie is pretty strong and may have been living in the wild for a long time, but she could not guarantee that she would evolve soon. After dinner, my mom headed back to the nursery to check on Cofagrigus. At that time, Jinxie wanted to go outside, but she was at the back door. I know you want to go out, but can we go to the backyard tomorrow? There's nothing particularly wrong with the backyard, it's just that there's a gated area where Pokemon in the nursery can go outside and play or relax for a bit. I did not want a chance to see the Cofagrigus in the playpen, at night especially. The next day, a huge truck was parked in front of the house. Many Vigoroths were unloading huge boxes while my mom was talking to the delivery man. Some kid from Unova region told us to ship this to you. It's supposed to be food for Cofagrigus. Thank you. I thought it was a bit odd that it did not want to take any Pokeblocks. I guess it's picky with its food. While they were still talking, I thought I would take Jinxie to Route 102 and train her. Mom told me that it may be a while till she actually evolves, but I wanted to see just how strong she was. By the time we finished training, we took a break near Route 101. It was already late evening. Wow, we sure have been out long. Mom must be wondering when we'll get back. I looked at Jinxie for a moment. She was sitting there eating her Pokeblocks. You must be close to evolving. We even beat 2 trainers in a row. Jinxie looked up at me and gave me a faint smile. It seemed to please her that I acknowledged how tough she was. When it was nearing night, I called Jinxie into her Pokeball and started to head home. Normally I would let her walk with me, but for some reason I chose to keep her in the Pokeball. Once I was home, I went straight to my room and crash-landed onto my bed. For some reason, I was tired yet anxious. Maybe it was the fact that I didn't know if Jinxie would evolve soon. After a few moments, I started to doze off. I was standing in the center of the nursery with a look of shock on my face. My poor badly beaten Jinxie was being sucked in by the Cofagrigus. I wanted to stop it. I wanted to run over there and pick up Jinxie, then run out the front door as fast as I could. My legs would not move. I just stood there and saw my poor beloved Jinxie becoming cursed by the Cofagrigus. I should have told her to stay out of the nursery. I knew if she were to get too close, the Cofagrigus would attack her. It was my fault I did not warn her before it was too late. I immediately got up from my bed. Tears rolled down my face. I had seen such a tormenting dream about that horrible Pokemon. Trying to get a hold of myself, I started to go to the little pillow placed on the table. I picked up Jinxie's Pokeball and opened it. She just stood there on her pillow, seeming a bit annoyed at me. Even though she wasn't happy at the moment, I was glad to see she was okay. Laughing, I shook my head. It was just a nightmare. How silly of me to get so worried over it. Jinxie gave me a low growl and turned her head towards the clock on my wall. 3:45 p.m. Oh no, Jinxie, I'm so sorry. I did not think I slept that long. Not only did she not eat yet, but we also missed our afternoon walk, one of her favorite activities in our daily routine. She hopped off her pillow and started walking towards the door. She used her psychic ability to open the door and left my room, leaving me behind. Feeling a little bad, I followed after her. At the bottom of the stairs, Jinxie just stood there. I could see a faint glow on her and assumed she sensed something in the house and was checking it out. When I walked close to her, the glow faded and she still stood there. I also noticed the house was unusually quiet. There was no noise coming from the kitchen and the television was turned off. I walked close to the couch and noticed that Pichu was not in his usual spot. I assumed that Mom had left the house for a while and took Pichu with her. A second later, the refrigerator gave off a loud hum. It broke the silence weather sharply and made me jump. Stupid fridge, I said rather dreadfully. After having the nightmare and the fact me and Jinxie were alone in the house made me feel doomed. I turned around to find Jinxie was no longer in the room with me. I peeked over the island counters and did not see her in the kitchen either. I began walking towards the back of the house, feeling even more dreadful with every step. I checked all the rooms in the back, the bathroom, the den, and the study. She was not in any of those rooms also. The only room left to check was the nursery. Maybe she wanted to go in the playpen while I fixed her food, I said quietly. Jinxie, are you down there? I yelled at the slightly open door leading to the nursery. A moment later she appeared and looked at me rather confused. Please don't go down there again. I know you want to go in the playpen, but I can't trust that damn Pokemon one bit. I hurried into the kitchen and prepared Jinxie's favorite Pokeblocks, bitter. I paused for a moment wide-eyed. I can hear a quiet hum in the house. It was not the fridge, it was coming from the back, from the nursery. I hurriedly prepared Jinxie's Pokeblocks when something brushed up against my leg. Looking at it out of the corner of my eye, I saw Pichu next to me. Although something was not right. I turned my gaze down and saw that Pichu was nothing but a corpse. I shrieked to move backwards, knocking the food of the counter. Pichu's body was slightly grayish-blue, with a few patches of skin and fur missing. His eyes were a sheer white, and one of them was slowly lolling out of its socket. Pieces of his body were also missing. Out of reaction, I kicked the Pichu with all my might, and it flew across the room, not fazed by any damage at all. Damn that Cofagrigus. You went too close to it, and now look what happened. Jinxie came down from my room and Pichu immediately rushed towards her. Jinxie used confusing, and the raging Pichu stopped suddenly. I was not sure if it fainted or died, but it did not move for a while. If this happened to Pichu, then where's Mom? I ran up to my room and got the flashlight from my drawer and started towards the back of the house. As I turned on my flashlight, an array of gold shined in the light. What is with all the gold scattered everywhere? Curious, Jinxie went farther into the nursery and picked up a piece. Next thing I know, 4 long arms reached out from the darkness and slammed Jinxie into the wall. The Cofagrigus, it must have made this nursery like its tomb. Now I remember all those boxes were probably filled with gold, but the delivery man said it was food for it. Is it really true it likes to eat gold? Suddenly the Cofagrigus was practically a foot away from me. Not knowing how to react once I saw it open up its coffin-like body, I made the worst mistake of all. Jinxie, use confusion. Why was attacking it a mistake? Well, confusion had practically no effect on it. Suddenly the Cofagrigus grabbed Jinxie with his arms and slammed her into the ground. I couldn't bear to see that. Jinxie was not even moving after being done so brutally. I was not sure what to do now. All I could do was stand there and watch Jinxie be sucked into the eternal void of Cofagrigus, possibly to be turned into an undead creature and sent after me. I was a fool for attacking it. Cofagrigus did belong to a trainer. This thing was probably stronger than I thought. I wanted to stop it. I wanted to run over there and pick up Jinxie, then run out the front door as fast as I could. My legs could not move. I just stood there and saw my poor beloved Jinxie becoming cursed by the Cofagrigus. I warned her, yet that did not make a difference. I don't know what went through my mind as I ran over to them. I picked up Jinxie and held her close, also being sucked in by Cofagrigus. I said something to her. I'm not sure what it was, but she gave me a weak smile and then everything was dark. I cannot see my own hands in front of me. Everything is dark. I can hear an echo in the distance, but I can't make out the sound. A strong force is pushing against my body to where I cannot move. I do not know what happened to Jinxie. I had no idea where Mom was. Did she make it out in time? Or is she also somewhere in this void where I cannot see her? My mind is going null. I can't think straight. Whoever this trainer was that sent this Cofagrigus to curse us must be happy. That was Gravedigger. Final thoughts? Interesting ending, but overall generic. I don't really have a lot to say about this one outside of that. The first 75% of the story was just standard stuff we've read dozens of times, but near the end it got a bit better. I thought that the gore with Pichu was pretty pointless, but having Cofagrigus be the evil Pokemon was a nice change of pace, and I like the idea that the inside of it is just a void. That being said, I do think the idea could have been done better. The story doesn't need to be as long as it was, and I'd like to see a bit more development towards the Cofagrigus and why it was there. Instead, we got way too much development towards the main character and her Ralts. that never really led anywhere. It's just the unfortunate cliche that happens all the time. Almost anytime a girl on the forum writes a Pokemon creepypasta, there has to be a Pokemon on their team that they catch at the start, grow the whole story in great detail, then either get saved by at the end or lose at the end. It's really unnecessary, and I wish it wouldn't get used so much. My last notes are just that this story needed much more proofreading and peer editing. It is absolutely full of typos and grammatical errors. If any of you at home would like to help out the authors and help out the show by proofreading the stories along with the authors, please go to the Creepypasta section of my forum in the description below. Thank you. That's it for this creepypasta. Tune in again next Saturday when we tackle yet another story made and sent in by the fans with no. If you want to write your own story, help peer edit a story, or even just read the stories early, check out the description where you'll find a link to the Creepypasta section of my forum. You'll also find a link to the playlist of every creepypasta reading I've done. If you're interested in keeping up on my blog posts, join the Facebook fan page linked below, and if you want to support me and what I do, check out my Patreon page in the description. Remember that if you want your story to be read on the show, you must stay active on your post on the forum, as well as read the forum rules. Thank you all for watching, and until next time, sweet dreams.